I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Krysta, I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. So how is everyone today?
I'm good.
Here on my vacation with my awesome family. Couldn't be better.
There we go. Well, thanks to the folks that are listening. Thanks to you guys for getting us up on the Good Pods Top 100 again. Like 12, 16, and 24 this time. Like our best showing yet. So,
nice.
I mean, we've been a little higher. We've been at number 11, but I ain't going to complain.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
So, if you want to help us out, there's a few ways you can do that. Of course, there's our Patreon. There's 3 different levels. 1, 3, 5, and 10, I believe. Different.
4.
Okay. 4 different levels. Sorry. 3 different groups, but it really doesn't matter because it all goes to feed the bunny and pay the electric bill anyway. So, if you want to help us with a monthly donation, that's the way to do it. Donors get special stuff like artwork from Krysta, bonus episodes, things like that. If you don't have, can do a monthly donation, we get that. You can certainly help us out by going to Buy Me a Coffee and doing a one-time donation. Any whole dollar amount will do, and we appreciate any help you can get. Also, if you enjoy the show, share it on social media. If you don't enjoy the show, keep it to yourself. Very nice. Very nice.
Can't say something nice, don't say anything as always.
Exactly.
Exactly. Daddy would say.
Yep. Now, tonight, we visit the White House. Not physically, astral traveling.
We tried, but it was way too pricey in this day and age.
And, well, they wouldn't let me in anyway, because...
Yeah, you're a troublemaker.
A bit of one. But we're going to talk about its construction, its history, some weirdness that surrounds it, and the ghosts who seem to occupy it on this historical paranormal episode of the Family Plot Podcast. But first, Krysta has facts.
I thought Krysta.
Krysta's Corner.
Oh, yeah, she does do Krysta's Corner now. Sorry, Krysta has a corner.
It's not just any corner, it's Krysta's Corner.
She gets a whole corner all to herself.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my corner. How are we doing?
I'm good.
Doing all right?
I'm glad to be here, as usual.
Woke up on the right side of the grass.
On the right side of the grass?
Yeah, above it, because you don't want to be under it.
Or else you're an ant.
Or buried.
Oh.
She was making a death reference, baby. It's okay.
Oh.
We don't expect you to get it.
No.
So what have you drawn on your wrist today?
It's a love triangle. Ha ha. Ha. Because it's got hearts and it's a triangle.
I see.
I see.
Be careful, though. Those can get messy.
Yes, they can.
As evidenced by your wrist.
It's almost completely gone anyway. I've been taking showers and going to the pool.
Oh, well, there you go.
Same with my hair color.
There, yeah, you're starting to get blonded out here in a couple places, but it's okay.
It's getting a little...
Yeah.
It's okay. So what's going on in Krysta's Corner?
Well, that brought up the whole hair situation, brought up my next topic.
Oh boy, you have a topic.
I
Good.
I do actually.
Okay, what are we talking about? Your hair?
No,
Okay,
but
somebody
it
else's hair?
is something similar.
Okay.
Physical ways to express yourself.
Ah, I see.
Okay.
What do you guys think some physical ways to express yourself are?
Okay, I'm a fan of tattoos.
I like hugs myself.
Those
Hugs,
are great.
high fives,
Hairstyles.
hairstyle. Yeah, well, if you're talking like personal self-expression, yeah, hairstyles, clothes, t-shirts, that sort of
All
thing.
that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep it out there, you know. I try to be original, or at least me.
What about you, Krista? What are your favorite?
Ways to express myself?
Yeah, well, we know that you're very into artistically expressing yourself with your drawing, which is great.
Well, personally, I really like dyeing my hair.
Uh-huh.
And I also think that other things may show some, like, forms of personality. So, like, rooms or clothing, which,
Sure,
of course,
absolutely.
we knew that.
Clothes are definitely a fun way to express yourself. I'm a fan of hats.
I'm a fan of hats. You're a fan of hats, Mom?
I like hats. I don't wear them very often, but I like them.
I'm a fan of one hat.
Dad's a fan of his Josh Gates hat.
That was an expensive hat.
It wasn't too bad for what it was, but initially it was a pretty expensive hat, yes.
Yeah.
But that was, 3 years ago? And
It's been a minute, yes.
it has been my faithful companion through most things.
He's definitely getting his...
But he's not wearing it to podcast anymore.
Well, very rarely, yes.
Okay, it's hard to wear the hat over the headphones.
Fair enough.
And you cannot wear headphones over a hat. I've tried, and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work very well.
Yep. Yeah, no, I get that.
And of course, there's music and poetry and writing. Those are also
those are also ways to show.
Of course, we had Uncle Danny here last week, and he's a writer. And
Yeah, speaking of writers, I think, like, books are a very nice way to express yourself. Like,
sure.
If you see, like, a bookshelf in someone's room that actually has books that they read.
Your Aunt Pam had a thing on there that had a thing on her Facebook today that said, this weekend you should go see the movie Little Mermaid and wear your Mickey Mouse ears and drink a Bud Light, and there's like 6 different things, and it's all of these things that are so, and read a band book, and it's all of these things that are so touchy right now. And it's like, what is with people?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck?
Anyway.
People are dumb when in a ugly. I don't know. There's a song. It's by the Doors.
Dumb ways to die.
No.
That's a good
Dumb ways to die.
That's the one.
So many dumb ways to die.
See,
Excuse
she
me.
knows.
Excuse me, what? I was looking at your hair.
No,
So,
you were tickling my
speaking
neck.
of hair, I was looking when I went to CVS the other day to get us some more sunscreen, and they have a bunch of different color options there. So, might be something to look at when we have the money to do your hair again.
I want to do like half pink and half green.
Yeah, they had all kinds of different colors.
Wow.
Well, more to come. When we have the money, we will definitely look at getting Krysta new hair color.
So I can express myself
Maybe we should
more.
put a poll up on the Facebook group and ask people what color they think you would look best in.
What color do you think Krysta would look best in?
Or what color do you think Krysta will pick? Like just like a yes. Of course, you did just say pink and green,
So probably, what color do you think Krysta would look best on?
I don't know. April Victorine said go with a Cruella de Vil, half white, half dark black.
No.
She did?
Yeah.
That might be cool. I was actually thinking, okay.
Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Wow, I see how it is. April Victorine says something and Krysta immediately says, oh, okay, I might do that.
No, okay.
See how it
Listen to me. I was thinking originally of doing it half pink and half green, or doing it half pink and half black. So that's not that different.
If you're going with pink and green, that honestly doesn't make you think watermelon.
No.
Doesn't make you think that you'll look like a watermelon head. You won't be the
you think high schoolers are going to call me
2023? Honest to God question here. I'm not even got anything.
I think that's pink
so,
I think that's red and green, not pink and green.
No, watermelon is pink. Pink and green. Watermelon. Whenever I wear pink and green together, I always think watermelon. But that's just, it may just be me.
Yeah, pink is, somewhere between pink and red.
It's a deep pink, don't get me wrong. It's definitely like...
Right.
Anyway, well, that is cool. Are you thinking like green, like evergreen green, or are you thinking like teal green? Because I've seen both. I'm just asking.
What's evergreen green?
Like
Christmas tree green?
No.
Like Christmas tree.
Like
green.
a lighter green.
Like lime green, like that.
Sort of.
Or a forest green?
Yeah, something like that. Sort of.
I'm so confused. Like Joker's teeth green? I don't.
His teeth
or
are
Joker's hair green.
Mostly his hair green.
So, like, the darker his hair green. Not like the lime light green. Right?
In the middle of the two.
It's a forest green. Don't worry about it.
I'm lost. All right, baby. Excellent.
Be lost.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to share with us this week, my sweet?
No, I'm good.
Other than, you tried to teach Mom how to play that game, Cookie Run Kingdom.
Oh no, Blue did that.
It distressed me.
You did it when you were high. It's supposed to be a relaxing game.
You ain't gotta call me out like that, dude.
Yeah, why you
Why do you call out yourself?
grabbing her by her weave like that?
Because it's funny.
I am very...
Are you hurt, Mom?
I am. Because I am very responsible.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying you did it at work, because you didn't.
Of course
but
not. I would never. I would never. But I'm very responsible about when I choose to imbibe.
So is it time for more applause for Krysta?
Yes, it is. Very, very much so. Yay, Krysta!
Yay, Krysta!
All right. So let's talk about where the White House originated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the White House was planned by an architect named James Holborn, and he was Irish-born. The White House itself was planned in the 1790s. It was rebuilt in 1814 after an attack by the British and has evolved with its occupants since then. It has seen such changes as the installation of electricity and adapting it for Wi-Fi. In the early 1900s, it underwent a lot of changes by Teddy Roosevelt, who established the White House nickname. It went through further structural renovations under hometown hero Harry S. Truman. It counts among its famous locations the Oval Office, the Rose Garden, and remains the only place that is a residence for the head of state that is free of charge to the public to visit.
Yep. So let's get into some of those details a bit. So once George Washington was installed as president in 1789, a job he actually didn't really want, but he did because he felt like he'd been chosen and he should listen to the people that had chosen him, which, not a bad thought.
Fair.
That's what a leader's supposed to do. So once he was installed as president, plans to build an official president's house took shape. The decision was made to build it in a prominent spot just off the Potomac River. A contest to find the builder is how James Hoban got the job, and he based what would come to be known as the White House off an Irish Anglo residence in Dublin called the Leicester House. I think Leister is pronounced Leicester. It might be Leicester. I'm not sure. In 1792, the cornerstone was laid, and over the next 8 years, a team comprised of slaves, free African Americans, and Europeans built the residence. It was built of Aquia Creek sandstone and given a lime-based whitewash in 1798, giving it its signature color. Built at a cost of over $200,000, roughly equivalent to over $5 million in today's money. It wasn't quite finished when John and Abigail Adams became its first residents on November 1st, 1800. Thomas Jefferson added his own personal touches upon moving in a few months later, installing 2 water closets, which were early bathrooms.
Water closets.
Yeah, actually, in much of Europe, they're still referred to as water closets, or WCs.
Or the loo.
Well, loo is British. So, where was... Oh, yeah. Thomas Jefferson added his own personal touches upon moving in a few months later, installing 2 water closets and working with architect Benjamin Latrobe to add bookending terrace pavilions. Having transformed the building into a more suitable representation of a leader's home, Jefferson held the first inaugural open house in 1805 and also opened its doors for public tours and receptions on New Year's Day and the 4th of July. It was burned almost to the ground by the British in 1814, and its fate was in flux as the country's leaders considered moving the capital, because the British seemed to think that just burning down the president's house would somehow deprive the Americans of their fighting spirit.
Well,
and
sure, like you do.
And it didn't quite work that way for them.
No.
In the end, however, they brought back James Hoban to rebuild the home, even managing to incorporate the charred walls that remained in the some areas. Upon reassuming residence in 1817, James Madison and his wife Dolly made the place even more regal with the addition of extravagant French furniture. The building's south and north porticos were added in 1824 and 1829, respectively. The Fillmores added a library in the second-floor oval room, while the Arthurs hired famed decorator Louis Tiffany to redo the east, red, blue, and state dining rooms.
Nice. That's a lot of dining rooms.
Yes. William Taft hired architect Nathan Wyeth to expand the president's workspace, resulting in the creation of the Oval Office. In 1913, Ellen Wilson added the Rose Garden, and in 1929, during the Hoover administration, a fire destroyed the executive wing, which led to even more reservations, which continued after FDR took office. Architect Eric Googler more than doubled the space of the area that would become known as the West Wing, installing a pool for the polio-stricken Roosevelt. He also moved the Oval Office to the southeast corner. A new East Wing was opened in 1942. Its cloakroom transformed into a movie theater, so the president of the free world didn't have to go see a movie at a multiplex. He could just stay there and see it in the White House.
Pretty much. That's the way to do it. If you are the leader of the free world.
Let's see. Once Harry Truman took office in 1945, another major overhaul began. Structural problems had begun to accrue after the use of steel beams for the foundation in 1902, and so the floors were stripped bare and the foundation replaced with concrete, while the Trumans redesigned the staterooms and redecorated the second and third floors, proudly showing off the results during a televised appearance in 1952.
Which they have at the Harry S. Truman Presidential Museum here in Independence.
Yes.
Because we did actually watch that when we went there a few years back. And
yep.
It's definitely interesting to watch.
Oh, yeah. Now, at the end of 1969, the beginning of 1970, a porte cochere, don't ask me what that is, it's a French room of some kind, a porte cochere and a circular drive were added to the West Wing, as well as a new press briefing room. In 1978, after a study assessing the exterior paint, over 40 layers were removed in some areas, allowing for the repair of deteriorated stone underneath. The first computer and laser printer were installed during the Carter administration, while the Internet made its first appearance under George H.W. Bush in 1992. The White House today holds 132 rooms on 6 floors, the floor space totaling approximately 55,000 square feet. It has hosted long-standing traditions such as the annual Easter egg roll, as well as historic events like the 1987 nuclear arms treaty with Russia. So, Krysta, what do you think of the White House?
I'm not sure.
It sounds really good.
Do you want to go visit?
No.
Do you want to know what a porte cochere is?
No. I don't think so. What is it?
I don't know. No, like I said, I didn't look it up.
Okay, well, let's touch on one of the famous mysteries of the White House, because you've given us so much history. So, one of the famous mysteries surrounding the White House is the missing cornerstone. A White House mystery has been ongoing on the missing cornerstone. So George Washington laid the cornerstone on October 13th, 1792, using a Freemason ceremony, as George was a Freemason. The cornerstone then vanished and has not been found to this very day, despite many searches and attempts. Some claim it vanished the day after it was laid. Others claim that with the many renovations done on the White House, it has simply been mislaid. In 2010, the first episode of Brad Meltzer's Decoded, a history and investigation series, began with a search for the cornerstone. However, the cornerstone remains missing.
Yes, it does. In fact, at one point, well, for the longest time, they thought it was under the Senate, and most of the searches centered there. Mm-hmm. Never found it. And then some White House historian was looking at the searches and was like, no, that's not where it would have been. It would have been where the House meets. It would have been under there. And so they found what's now a coffee shop right under that, this big stone, and they're like, yeah, it's got to be it. It's got to be the cornerstone. But when it got laid, there was a silver plaque put underneath it. It's the only thing that for sure marks it. So they dig under it, no silver plaque, not the cornerstone. So, yeah, either the silver plaque just vanished or we still haven't found the cornerstone. Where do you think the cornerstone is, Krysta?
If it were up your butt, you'd know.
Honestly,
Please cut that out.
I don't know. I think
it's in the corner and they just haven't looked in the right one.
I would imagine in a building the size of the White House, there's probably quite a few corners.
I'm pretty sure it might be under the White.
In a corner, because it's a cornerstone.
Right.
Yeah. Are those new glasses? Or have you had those for a while?
I've had these for a while.
Oh.
At least 2 or 3 months.
So let's talk about deaths in the White House. And there are
A few.
a few. We begin with William Henry Harrison, the 9th president of the United States, who was president barely a month before he passed away. He was diagnosed with pneumonia, and they treated it with all the tech available to doctors in 1841.
Which was limited.
Well, they tried bloodletting with leeches. They tried putting suction cups on his chest, although I know people who do cupping and swear by it, but it didn't help.
It didn't help him.
No. They made him drink Ipecac.
Oh.
Lots and lots of Ipecac.
Well, shoot, no wonder he died.
Believe it or not, none of this relieved his symptoms. So they began to feed him a mixture of petroleum and snakeweed.
Okay, well, now I know why he died. And
Which-
it didn't have anything to do with pneumonia.
Which did even less. Eventually, he passed, becoming the first president to die in office and the first person to die in the White House itself. An urban legend has sprung up around his death, claiming that if he just wore a coat in the cold, he wouldn't have died of pneumonia. However, D.C. was sort of a big open sewer around this time, and modern thinking is that he probably died of typhoid. Now, following Harrison's death, his vice president, John Tyler, got promoted. He went from VP to president.
Well, I mean, like you do.
His wife, Letitia, became first lady, and then at the age of 49, had a stroke which left her paralyzed.
Aww.
She only made one trip down from the upstairs residence after that to attend her daughter's wedding in 1842. However, later the same year, a second stroke ended her life, making her the second person to die in the White House.
Wow. That's pretty awful.
And then, of course, John Tyler married a woman who was like a third her age after she died.
Well, I mean,
It was a lot more common back then. I'm not a big fan of it, but it was a lot more common back then.
sure.
So, in the late 1840s, William Zachary Taylor was made president, and from the start, he had a lot of work on his plate. Like Texas had just been made a state, and all sorts of other stuff, and plus, there's stuff that was going to be leading up to the Civil War that he had to deal with. So he had a lot to do. At a 4th of July celebration at the still under construction Washington Monument in 1850, he drank iced milk and ate fruit. But Washington was still contending with sewage issues in the 1850s, and leaving out milk, even iced milk in that environment, was a great way to get cholera, which Taylor promptly did and died less than a week later in the White House.
Wow.
Smart, really.
What a trip.
Sometimes
So,
you sit and wonder how people become presidents.
2 in a row. I never realized that 2 presidents in a row died. 2 voted in presidents in a row died in the White House. While in the White House.
Yep. Now, in 1862, Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln's sons both got sick, also probably with typhoid. While Tad eventually recovered, Willie passed in the White House barely 2 months after he turned 11. Now, a couple things we should also mention in here is Mary Todd Lincoln loved seances, had many of them in the Red Room, where she claimed she spoke to Old Hickory, Andrew Jackson. And she was the first person to say she saw him in the White House. Now, it is also important that we mention that Lincoln was assassinated shortly after this, and he did die while he was in office, but he did not die in the actual White House.
Right. That I knew.
Now, Frederick Dent, father-in-law to Ulysses S. Grant, was living in the White House when he passed in 1873 from old age, because that was okay to write on a death certificate back then. Frederick Dent was a big fan of slavery, so for him to die in a free White House, probably not what he wanted.
Well, you know.
In 1883, Elisha Hunt Allen, minister of the Kingdom of Hawaii to the U.S., was attending a New Year's Eve party at the tender age, the party was thrown by President Chester A. Arthur, and Elisha was at the tender age of 78.
Wow.
Good time to party, Elisha. 78. Good, great, wonderful. He ruined the party by promptly dying.
That does sound like a good way to ruin a party.
Yet another death in the White House. Carolyn Harrison, wife to Benjamin Harrison, grandson of William Henry Harrison, was a former school teacher who had many health complications, including a bout with pneumonia. She was eventually diagnosed with tuberculosis, which was considered a death sentence at the time. She went to live in the Adirondacks, where she hoped the drier air would help her lungs. However, it didn't help, and she returned to the White House shortly before her death in 1892. Ellen Wilson, wife to Woodrow Wilson and the lady responsible for the Rose Garden, died of kidney failure in 1914, or kidney disease, sorry. Woodrow Wilson later met another woman who had recently lost her husband. He proposed almost immediately, thus leading to speculation that Woodrow and his new woman had possibly murdered Ellen.
Wow.
Almost certainly untrue. Still, it says a lot about the time that this occurred in American history.
Yeah.
Now, in 1945, Harry S. Truman, back to the awesome guy, appointed longtime friend and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Charles Ross to the role of press secretary, a job he would work until his death 5 years later of a coronary occlusion in the White House. Truman, however, was not done losing people close to him, as his mother-in-law, Margaret Madge Wallace, a woman who hated Truman no matter whether he was president or not, she passed away on December 5th, 1952, making her the last person to die in the White House itself. Now, and while he did not die in the White House, let's not forget the assassination and death of John F. Kennedy on Friday, November 22nd, 1963. So while he did not die in the White House, he did die in office. And one other thing about Margaret Madge Wallace, she was very strongly anti-Semitic. Like after Truman's presidency, he was living in their house, basically. And a reporter came to talk to him, and he had to meet him outside. And the reason he had to meet him outside was because she wouldn't let him into her house because it was a Jew. He was a Jew. And she's never had a Jew in her house.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Shame on her.
Yeah, not a nice person.
It was a different time, but still, shame on her.
Oh.
Not a nice person. Did you know so many not nice people were in the White House?
I figured.
Well, yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to reason. So, hey, now would actually probably be a good thing for...
A time for a word from our sponsors?
I think it's probably so.
Probably. Yes, dear.
I feel sponsored.
Yay!
I also feel sponsored.
Yay!
Woo-hoo!
I'm feeling sponsored as well.
I'm feeling so sponsored. Let's talk about some sponsors.
Yes. Because you get all the cool stuff to talk about. The missing cornerstone and hauntings. Is that a rash?
No, she beat herself up.
I didn't do it. It was she on.
And I guess the kitty cat out. So, we're going to talk about several. Of course, a lot of people have had experiences at the White House. There are whole books written about the hauntings in the White House. So we're going to just touch on some of them. So, visitors to the White House's East Room will occasionally smell wet clothes or lavender laundry detergent, or creepiest of all, some have even claimed to see the ghost of Abigail Adams hanging laundry in the East Room. While that is definitely creepy from
A
the
classic
retellings of it, it seems like just a residual haunting. There's no interaction with anyone who's had the experience. They have just seen and smelled these.
Right. And they either see her like walking with her arms out like she's carrying something, even though they don't see a basket, or they see her actually hanging laundry in the room itself. That sounds very, very residual as opposed to intelligent to me.
Sure, absolutely. So the next one is, of course, Abraham Lincoln. While, again, Lincoln did not die in the White House, many have seen or felt the presence of Lincoln in the White House since his assassination. First Ladies Grace Coolidge, Lady Bird Johnson, and Jacqueline Kennedy all reported seeing Lincoln's ghost. Prime Minister Winston Churchill, a frequent visitor to the White House during World War II, emerged from his evening's bath completely naked, smoking one of his favorite cigars, only to emerge into his room to discover the ghost of Lincoln sitting by the fireplace.
Now, see, that amuses me because I love Winston Churchill. There's actually some stuff about him in the Truman Museum. But it's just, he's such a good speaker, and there's so many great stories. And just, I would have to venture that that's one of the times in his life he truly would have been speechless.
Yeah.
Naked, smoking a cigar, looking at the ghost of Lincoln in front of the fireplace in the room he's staying in.
Like, good sir, what are you doing in my room? Absolutely.
I'd be more worried about, like, walking in my room naked and seeing
Eleanor,
Lincoln.
yeah, well,
Like,
for sure. Eleanor Roosevelt, who used the Lincoln bedroom as a study, often claimed she could feel his energy as if he was looking over her shoulder while she wrote. Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands also claimed that she saw the ghost of Lincoln, standing on a balcony looking over the Potomac River. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's valet once ran screaming from the White House after seeing Lincoln's ghost based on reports of the Lincoln visitations. These ones seem to be a mixture of residual or intelligent haunting. And while we are definitely pointing out that he did not pass there, his remains were set up there for viewing.
Yes, he was
for like 30 days or something, wasn't they? Viewed for quite some time back then to allow.
Yeah, he was laid in state in the White House, but
yeah.
and he's often referred to as the ghost of the White House. He's the one that most people seem to have some kind of encounter with.
Right.
And honestly, there are presidents who have said that they've seen him in times of trouble and turmoil.
And that makes sense.
You know, when he was president, he died with a lot left undone. Maybe he's still trying to find ways to do it all in the afterlife. Yeah, and he seems the sort of duty-conscious person that might try to do that.
Especially in times like this. He very much was a self-made man. He did not come from means. He did not come from the best education. His parents could not afford to give him anything extra in life, and he definitely made himself what he ended up being. So I can definitely see where he would want to continue
Yeah, Lincoln is a fascinating case. I mean, he was really this wild country kid that eventually became a lawyer, eventually became a politician, and eventually became president.
Right, absolutely. So next, we'll talk about David Burns.
Mr. Burns was in the White House?
Yeah, not Mr. Burns, David Burns.
Oh, okay.
This was the figure who sold the government most of the land upon which the White House sits, and has frequently been seen and heard within the White House, most famously by a seamstress who chronicled her 30-plus year career in the White House, who heard him introduce himself in an empty room. Now, that's kind of wild and different.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know who David Burns was, so right. I'm amused by picturing this. Yes, keep eating, never knowing you're drawing ever nearer to the poison donut. There is a poison donut, isn't there, Smithers? No, sir, the lawyer said that would be murder. Blast their miserable hides!
You feel better?
Yes, I do.
Next, President Harry S. Truman wrote of seeing the spirits of both Teddy Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson. Mary Todd Lincoln held seances in the Red Room and claimed to have spoken to Andrew Jackson as well. In recent years, some staffers have claimed to see the ghost of Harry S. Truman standing in the Oval Office, a troubled look upon his face.
Probably going, is my mother-in-law still alive? That's probably why he looks troubled.
We're so silly. Willie Lincoln also occasionally makes his presence known. Staffers during Grant's administration regularly reported the spirit, and occasionally people report the sound of a child playing when there are no children in the White House. The ghost of William Henry Harrison is often seen on the third floor, which would have been an attic when he was president. The Reagan's dog Rex would often bark at the door of the Lincoln bedroom and refuse to go inside. The Reagans also reported seeing ghostly figures in the bedroom from time to time.
Now, see, that one bothers me because they specifically said ghostly figures, but they never said Lincoln. So, did they see Lincoln and just choose not to use his name? Or, or were they just have bad eyesight and it could have been anybody in there?
Yeah, it seems to me that Nancy and Ronald were, they were in their later years when they went to the White House, so who knows. George W. Bush's daughters heard 1920s singing and opera music coming from the fireplace in their room. And when they told Buddy, their valet, he told them he's seen many things that they wouldn't believe. Finally, the Obamas both reported hearing mysterious voices and strange sounds throughout the White House. Michelle even reportedly said that it's hard to feel alone there.
And to my mind, it would be just for all the secret security agents and press people and Lord knows, who all's in a White House these days. Right. But even when you're alone, to not feel alone, I could see that too. Yeah. I mean, that place has a lot of history. And even if you never saw Ghost 1, I think that just, if you're half conscious at all, I think you would feel the history of the place.
Probably so.
What about you, Krysta?
I agree.
So who's your favorite ghost? Who, would you, if we were going to the White House, who would you be, wanting to cross off your scorecard as far as seeing?
As much as I said something about Lincoln earlier, honestly, I'd want to see Lincoln.
Yeah, for me, it'd be Lincoln or Truman. Either one. I'd take either. I mean, I could definitely see Truman haunting the White House. The decision to bomb Pearl Harbor was his. And it was a tough decision to make. So I'm sure he left part of himself there, which is why, you still see the ghost. But yeah.
Makes sense.
Hey, so what about you, babe?
Oh, Lincoln for sure.
Yeah. Me and Mom are on the Lincoln thing.
Any other thoughts or final thoughts? You're
I mean, it's just, we've talked about it before, and I think it just circles back around to those historical places. I mean, just so much emotional, so many lives touched, even not being there. They're just touched by the people and the decisions that are made in Washington overall, but definitely by the people who are living and working out of the White House. And so, I mean, it makes a bunch of sense.
Yeah. So, hey, Krysta,
What's that?
did you learn anything in this episode?
Yeah, I learned a couple things.
You know what I learned?
What?
If someone has fresh milk out anywhere near an open sewer, don't drink it. That's what I learned.
That's a good...
Here, this is what
That's a
I
good
learned.
thing to know.
This is another thing I learned. How about if milk is anywhere but in your own fridge, let's not touch it.
That's a pretty good idea, too.
That's probably a good idea. So thanks again for listening. We hope you enjoyed this show. Thanks to Bill Barrett, who does our theme music. Bill also has his own podcast these days, the Rusty and Dusty podcast, which I did not know until recently.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Congrats, Bill.
Congrats. So if you need music for a project, Bill's still your guy. You can reach him at Bill Berendt, BEHRENDT, at sbcglobal.net. Also, thanks to Paige Elmore of Reverie True Crime. If you're in the looking for a true crime podcast, Paige has you covered there. But she's also a Canva addict. Along with our Krysta, did us some logo art.
Yes, and it's awesome.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks to Aaron Gnerk of the Big Dumb Fun Show, who continues to promote us locally. And join us next week as we go full-on cryptid looking into the Mokele Mbembe.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.